This program is sponsored by the DeKalb County Public Library. We invite you to explore our online resources and virtual programs at dekalblibrary.org. Hi, I'm Becky Streepy from Glue and Glitter, and welcome to Easy Instant Pot Cooking for Seniors, sponsored by the DeKalb County Public Library. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a super easy 3-bean chili in your Instant Pot, and while the chili is cooking, I'm going to show you how you can make a garlic cashew sour cream to put on top of it. I know that access to the grocery store and access to specific ingredients has been a little bit tricky right now, and so as we go through this recipe, I'm going to talk about substitutions that you can use. That way you can use what you have or use what's available in case there's something in this recipe that you're not able to find. Let's get cooking! What I love about this recipe is that you truly just throw everything into the Instant Pot, turn it on, and walk away until the chili is ready. There are a couple of things that you can mix up, and we'll talk about those as we go. So the first thing you're going to add to the pot is the vegetables, and we'll start with some chopped onion. All right, let's get this onion container out of the way. And then the other fresh vegetable that you'll need is bell pepper. You can also use fresh garlic if you want. There is garlic powder that we're going to add later on, but if you have fresh garlic, feel free to mince a few cloves in there and leave the garlic powder out. Now you actually have two options here. You can either add everything like I said, turn it on and walk away, but if you prefer to saute your vegetables first, you can do that right in the Instant Pot. There's a little saute button right here, and you turn it on and it actually turns the inside of the pot into almost like a stovetop. It is high heat, so keep an eye. Your things will burn quickly, but just add a little bit of oil or water if you prefer to water fry. And you can saute those up until they're browned. But for the sake of ease, we are just going to throw everything in and have an easy meal. All right, so remember that garlic powder that I said you can skip if you use fresh garlic? It's time to add that. So here's your garlic powder, and we're going to add 2 teaspoons of that. 1 and 2. There you go. Next, you'll add 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. And if there are other spices that you like adding to your own chili, I know everyone kind of does their own thing, you're welcome to add whatever you like to this pot. I know some people like a pinch of cinnamon or a little cocoa powder. You do you. Add some paprika. I'm keeping this simple so that you can kind of mix up this recipe and make it your own. But it is delicious as is. My bean-hating 7-year-old actually will eat this chili, which is just delightful. The next thing you'll add is 2 tablespoons of chili powder. 1. That one was a little rounded. Let's go scant on the next one. There. And that's it for the dried spices, like I said, unless you want to kind of add your own thing. All right, next we're gonna add 3 drained cans of beans. Now let's talk about this because you have all kinds of options. I used a can of black, pinto, and chickpea beans, 1 each, but you can use any canned beans that you like. You can also substitute 1 3/4 cup of cooked beans for each can if you have cooked beans that you would like to use. But pretty much any 3 types of beans will work, or 3 of the same type of beans, totally up to you. We like to make this recipe sometimes with lentils. My son loves it with black-eyed peas as one of the beans. It's kind of fun to see what you can get and mix and match your beans to make your own unique combination. Next, we'll add 1 broth cube. This is just a vegetable broth cube. You can use not chicken or not beef, depending on what you like. You could also use, the equivalent amount of broth paste, which is the amount to make 1 cup of broth. And then we'll add a cup of water. So basically what you're doing is just making a cup of vegetable broth in there. So you could also just use vegetable broth instead of the cube and the cup of water. It's totally up to you. Then we'll add a small can of diced tomatoes. one of my family members can't do very acidic food, and so I try to limit the amount of tomatoes I use. You could actually use a second can of tomatoes instead of the water if you can do more acidic food, but it's very delicious and lovely chili even with the reduced amount of tomato. Then in the recipe I usually make, I add a cup, sometimes even a cup and a half of riced cauliflower, frozen riced cauliflower. I like this because it adds a bit of a meaty texture and thickens the chili. It also adds a little bit of sneaky veggies that my kid can't detect. He actually saw me getting the riced cauliflower out the other day and told me he doesn't like it. And did I have a surprise for him? He had been eating it in this chili for months. I'm omitting it today because I could not find any, but if you can find some, I definitely recommend it. We all want more sneaky veggies, right? The last thing that we're adding is a cup of frozen corn. You could use fresh or canned if you prefer. And I'm actually using a little bit more than the cup because I didn't have the riced cauliflower, and we love corn and we're gonna eat this chili later for dinner. So just add that right in there. Then we just give this a quick stir and it's time to turn the pot on. So I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of a stir to move the stuff on top around. You actually want the liquid to stay at the bottom or you'll get a burn notice from your Instant Pot. If it senses if it's too dry at the bottom and it'll tell you that your chili is burning. So you don't want to bring that liquid up to the top or you're going to have a problem. But I do like to stir the beans and corn and stuff a little bit just to get everything coated. So the next thing we're going to do is put the lid on the pot. Whoop. I have the lid over here. And I wanted to show you how the lid works. So we want to have it on sealing. I'm going to bring it real close. So you see this little toggle? It toggles between venting here and sealing. So when you put the lid on, you just want to make sure it's set to sealing. That's going to allow the pot to build up pressure. If you leave it on venting, it'll never come to pressure. Your chili will cook, but you won't know when it's done. So get that all set up, sealing, and then you'll just hit the pressure cook button. And mine is actually defaulted to 5 minutes, which is what you want, but you can use the plus or minus to go up and down if you need to. And that's it. You're gonna let this cook for 5 minutes at pressure, and then once that 5-minute timer goes off, let it sit for 10 more minutes and then do a quick release. And to do the quick release, all you do is move this toggle that I showed you earlier back to venting, and whoosh, steam will come out of the top until the little pressure indicator drops down, and then you'll be able to open the pot. You'll know the pressure is down because you'll be able to open the pot. If you try to open the pot while it's at pressure, it has a safety lock and it won't allow you to do it. So if you feel like you have to work hard to open it at all, then your pot is still at pressure and don't open it. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that when you do release this pressure, you want to be sure that your hand is not over the pressure gauge or over the toggle, because that's where the steam comes out. So do it from the side like this, not from the top like this, because you can burn yourself pretty badly. While the chili is cooking, you have plenty of time to make the garlic cashew sour cream that we're going to put on top of it. Now this I don't really have a ton of substitutions for, but if you cannot find cashews, I don't recommend trying any other nuts. You can do pumpkin seeds instead, but the flavor is going to be a little bit different. So that said, we're going to grab our blender canister. You do not need a special blender for this recipe. This is just the blender that I have. You can use a regular blender or high speed to make your cashew sour cream. And then I'm going to add a cup of soaked cashews. These are cashews that I've soaked in hot water for 10 minutes, and then I've drained off the excess water before adding them to the blender. You want to discard that soaking water. It is not good for cooking with because it's just kind of funky. I don't like it. I like to get the cashews soaking before I start cooking everything else because it just takes a second, and that way they're ready to go when I am. If they soak a little bit longer, it's totally fine. A lot of cashew cream recipes tell you that you need raw cashews, but I've discovered that that's actually not true. These are roasted cashews. You can even use roasted salted because most of the salt is just gonna go down the drain when you drain off that excess water. The soaking will really soften them up so they'll blend up fine, even in a regular blender. Speaking of blenders, I'm using a high-speed blender, which will take about a minute to get a nice, smooth cashew cream. If you don't have a high-speed blender, that's totally fine. You can use a regular upright blender, and you'll just need to blend for longer. So you'll want to blend for about 45 seconds at a time, and then give your blender a break. Scrape down the sides to get anything that's kind of jumped up back down by the blades, and then blend again. Not only do those breaks give you a chance to move everything back down towards the blades, but they also give your blender's motor a rest. If you just keep blending continuously for several minutes until you have a smooth mix in a regular blender, you will burn out the motor, and I don't want that to happen to you. That's terrible. All right, so we've got our cashews. Next we're gonna add a little bit of water, just a half a cup. And then a little bit of lemon juice. This is lemon juice from a jar because I'm having trouble finding fresh lemons right now, but you can use either. You can also adjust the lemon juice to taste. Start with the 2 tablespoons, and if you want your sour cream to be more tart, add a little bit more lemon juice. And then blend again so you make sure everything gets incorporated evenly. Then I'm adding 3 cloves of garlic. These are pretty big cloves, and that is going to give me kind of a spicy-ish garlic cashew cream. You can use fewer cloves of garlic if you want to. I would start low, and you can always add and blend, taste, and then, continue that way until you get it as garlicky as you want. You can always add more garlic. You can't take it away. So start on the low end. Maybe start with 1 clove if you're not sure. Taste it and see if you want more garlic. This recipe is very easy to adjust. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is blend this up. This high-speed blender is very loud, so I'm gonna take this into the next room to blend, and I will be right back. And we're back, and it's all done blending. So that took about a minute in my high-speed blender. You don't even have to take a break if you're blending for that short a period of time. And as you can see on the blades, it's nice and smooth and creamy. That's what you want it to look like. You don't want a grainy cashew cream because then it's not going to be a cream, right? It's going to be kind of gritty, and that's not pleasant to have on the chili or on anything. Who likes gritty food? So at this point, you'll just taste it and see if it needs anything. Usually I like to add a pinch of salt, but if you don't do salt, you can absolutely not do it. Sometimes a little extra lemon juice will help if you feel like it needs salt. And then you can add black pepper, which I have over here, but I'm actually going to skip because the garlic really makes it spicy enough for me. But you'll just, sorry, this is loud. You'll just stir in the salt and or pepper, and then, taste until it reaches the taste that you want. As you can see, this is on the thin side right now. Woo! But this will thicken up considerably in the refrigerator. You can even stick it in the freezer just while the chili is cooking because it won't freeze in that time, but it will chill a little bit more quickly and reach more of a sour cream consistency. I'm actually going to do that right now. I'm going to leave it in this container because why dirty a dish when you don't have to? So I'll be back again. Now that the 10-minute natural release is up, you just hit cancel on your pot, and then toggle the switch on the top to release the pressure, and you let the pressure come down until you see the little pressure gauge on the top drop down. When that drops down, that's how you know that it's safe to remove the lid from the pot, so that's what we're gonna do now. So you just grab the lid, and as you can see, I didn't have to strain at all to open that, right? It was just like a gentle twist. If you find yourself pulling, that means that the pressure's not down all the way, so you just wanna wait it out, because what you don't want is to wrench it open. If there's still a lot of pressure in the pot, the lid can kind of fly up out of your hands. Once you get the lock undone, there's nothing holding it down, so the pressure will just push it up into the air. I've heard horror stories, but as long as you don't do that, listen to the pot, you'll be fine. So give that chili a quick stir. And you're ready to serve. I'd like to top this with a little bit of the cashew sour cream, which is right here. I'm going to use this big old spoon to spoon some on because that's just what's happening. You can see that it's thickened up a little bit in the freezer. It's a little thin, but if you make it in advance and chill it, it gets as thick as sour cream. It's pretty wild. And then I'll top it off with just a little bit of green onions, because green onions make everything delicious. You can obviously leave these out if you don't have them, or you can use more of that sweet onion that you put into the chili if you prefer, or just nothing, which is also totally fine. And that's it. Easy Instant Pot chili and cashew sour cream that you can make in about maybe 40 minutes with very little active cooking time. Thank you so much for cooking with me. This was super fun. And I hope that you will check out DeKalb County Public Library's online resources and virtual programs at dekalblibrary.org. Happy cooking!